Hey guys, I am back with another army update for my Araby project, and this week I did manage to get quite a bit done, and I'm really happy to share it with you. So in front of you, this is the completed army so far. It's only 6 models, but I have many more to share. And for this video, I am going to cut it up a little bit. You're going to see the work in progress videos and some voiceovers so I can explain in depth what I actually did for each model. So let's move on to the first character, which would be the unit sergeant of my Saracen. So guys, up here we have my unit sergeant, which is Hale. He is the miniature you guys saw, I believe, last week, and it is a Citadel dog of war fighter, and his name was Hale. And let me just zoom in a little bit. So Hale is supposed to be a dog of war, so he can be a mercenary or anything like that. If you just look at the equipment he had, like I mentioned in the first project update, because he has some scimitars, curved blades, and he has, I'd say his clothing wear does match the art of Araby, even Ottoman Turks and Janissaries, so I knew he would fit really well into the army. So when we look at Hale, he turned out much better than I thought. I put all 4 miniatures here just so you can get an idea of my Saracen unit. So we'll first focus on him. He turned out really well. I'd say a lot of basic stuff, nothing too fancy. So continued on with the orange, yellow kind of color scheme, had fun painting all of his trinkets. And on the back of him, I'm actually really happy to share, he has like a bottle, and I decided to make it like poison. So I've been reading up a lot on the lore of Araby, and they deal a lot with poison, so I thought it'd be cool to kind of start adding elements of the lore into the units. And a bit more about Araby. So these guys are honestly, I'd say neutral, where they are slavers, and in the old world it's quite frowned upon, but they deal in it. And one of the worst fates is to be captured and sold into the pleasure palaces in Araby. So I kind of like the lore a lot, as it makes these guys just not generically good. They have their own motives, which I think is very cool. Moving on to the 2 guys, you saw this was the original miniature I painted for Talisman for the Saracen, and I painted the freehand to be a serpent, like I mentioned all those weeks ago. As if you know Man of War, there is a black Leviathan, I believe it's called. It's one of the monsters that you can fight in the game. And I thought with my dudes and Araby dealing with, I'd say, the coast, trade slave and all that stuff, it'd be cool to implement certain parts of like the sea into it. So he had that freehand. For this Saracen, he is again the same model, unfortunately. And I really do like the model a lot, so I don't mind painting repeats. But I painted his freehand a little bit differently. I just looked up a lot of cool designs from real life Saracens, Turkish designs, Ottoman designs. Now, I don't want to copy it exactly, as I do think that's a little bit pushing it too much into the realm of real life. But I got inspired by all the curves and the, I'd say, ornate decorations they had, and I think it worked fairly well with the moon shield. And the difference between this Saracen to the one in the back is I painted the non-metallic differently. When I painted the one in the back for Talisman, I leaned more into the official artwork of Talisman. It was like a blue steel. The more I paint these guys, I actually don't like that color, solely because the gems are blue and certain cloth will be this deep blue for accents. So I'm leaning back to my original non-metallic color scheme. And the back is, again, I'm really happy with the bright colors. Now, I should note, in the lore of Araby, these guys are actually cladded in dark robes, like blacks and reds. So already my Araby will be a little bit different. I'm being more inspired by real life artwork and uniforms, because I do think being such a unique part of the old world, it allows I guess, more color put into the game. And I know Empire Men have that color or a lot more brighter stuff, but everyone paints it red and white. So I thought, for being a quote-unquote exotic location, just have a very different color scheme. So that's that, and you saw the other guy in the back. So this is so far the small beginnings of my Araby Spearman unit. I think it's turning out fairly well. I have quite a few done already, and I probably have 15 more of the Talisman Saracens on the way, and I will be converting them very slightly to change like the head looking in a different direction and all that assortments. So here are the beginnings of my spear unit. The next two models will have a small cut in between so I can explain the conversion work that went into them. Up next is a model I'm quite proud of. This is my first character for my Araby army. I am not sure what exactly I'm gonna play these guys as just yet, but the model was a lot of fun and a lot of converting. So I'm gonna post a photo right next to her. This is the Citadel, I believe, Barbarian model. It is one of the few female barbarians they sculpted, and I've had this model for over a year in my bit bin, and when I looked at it, I realized I really do like the blank canvas that the model pretty much was almost completely nude, so it allowed me to then sculpt the cloth to match Araby. And in the lore of Araby, I could say, because it's like a merchant place that deals in slavery, I could see this individual being a prominent merchant lord, maybe even like a gladiator type character. I just was really drawn to the pose she originally had, so I'm probably going to cut this part of the video and then insert the conversions and talk a bit about that. So I'm kind of showing you what I did. I had the Shield Maiden model, and I bent the blade, used a file, and basically made my own scimitar and curved blade from the one she had. And then for this port, you can just see all the green stuff. So it was really fun sculpting the pants. I was inspired actually by Jasmine from Aladdin, and just reference photos to get the style I wanted. Overall, really simple sculpting, not too advanced. The only part that took a little bit of thought was the gems, but that just required putting a small ball of green stuff, flattening it, and then making a smaller ball to put in between it. So I'm pretty sure after all of my talks, I explained in depth of everything. So you can see, again, to recap, I sculpted the leg parts, the gems, the face mask, and I had to convert the sword. And another part that I'm very proud of is actually the hawk. So this is, if I can focus, this is a red-tailed hawk. In the lore of Araby, the leaders really prize red-tailed hawks. They're hard to come by, and it's like a status symbol. So I want all of my any model that's a hero or a lord will be having this hawk. And again, I'm going to insert a photo. The hawk I used was actually from the Wood Elf character, and just like I don't like flying stands, I had to be a little bit creative. So I had to pin a paper clip through the pommel of the sword, through the wing, and I do like how it gives that illusion that it's just flying overhead. It could be her personal pet. Painting wise, a lot of fun colors. I really leaned into as many bright colors as I could, and I was a little bit worried it might conflict with the model, but it managed to work itself out pretty well. I made the gems red just to tie it into the main unit. Really had fun painting the orange cloth, and of course I had fun painting the leopard skin. I seem to really like having the models with it, even though the Slan have it. I kind of like having my Araby with it, because in the lore of Araby, they also deal with a lot of big felines like tigers, leopards, and their own unique big cat that lives in Araby. But yeah, so the model turned out really fantastic. I'm really pleased with how the um, red-tailed hawk turned out. I could have definitely spent a lot more time painting the hawk, but overall I was pretty happy with the overall color scheme. And the model already took quite a bit to paint and convert, so I was pretty pleased with how much time I already committed to it. Now the next model is another conversion that was quite extensive. So up next is my first Araby Janissary. So this model was quite a bit of thought and conversion work. I want to keep my models all classic Citadel miniatures. Don't know why, it's just something that I really like. It's my, I guess, only like OCD trait that I really have. So it provided a very fun challenge of hunting down a model and trying to fit it into Araby. So the model I settled on was a Citadel Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Hobgoblin. The reason I chose this model, and I'll probably cut it so you can see the work in progress and like the green stuff work. The armor the goblin has really does fit into Araby, and if you watch 300, I really liked the immortals that followed King Xerxes, and when you read more about real-life Janissaries, they're like the elite guard. So I thought in my army for Araby, I wanted a unit that represents the immortals and like personal guards to the leaders of this certain faction in Araby. And not only that, if you know the original lore for Araby, there's influence of chaos, more specifically Tzeentch, from one certain mad mage in the lore. So I kind of wanted to give the idea that maybe these guys aren't quite exactly human. You don't know what's underneath that death mask. And I really am happy that the hobgoblins come with that crescent moon motif. It's seen a lot through the Araby lore, so it worked out fairly well. Painting wise, I had fun doing some freehand on the pink cloth. You can kind of see it, kind of not. It's a small little subtle thing. And overall, really had fun adding all the colors with the non-metallic and everything. I think having a small unit of these guys will be striking on the table. And I just had a lot of fun painting this guy. I could have made the non-metallic the transition a bit cleaner, but I am having a lot of fun and I don't want to burn myself out too much painting all of these guys to like the highest standard. Already he took a fairly decent amount of time. But yeah, that's the first Janissary. I have a couple more in the works. These guys do take a little bit of time because of the sculpting required, but I've been enjoying this model quite a lot more than I thought I would. And here's a work in progress. So this is the Hobgoblin from Citadel Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and I started off with chopping the head, completely carving it off, while saving the helmet, the crescent moon, and then putting the head a bit taller because the hobgoblins' heads are sunken into the chest. We don't have hobgoblins in Araby, so I had to make it more human appropriate height. And here's some of the green stuff work. So you can see I sculpted the death mask. I had to sculpt all of the cloth around the helmet and then added the little sash where I did the freehand. So really proud with the green stuff work. I think I'm getting used to sculpting fabric and all the different folds. I felt like I kind of lost that skill a bit. Here's some still shots of it. Really happy again with how he turned out and how easy it is to replicate. So there you guys have it. This is the progress of my Araby army so far. I'm really happy with how everything's coming out. I'm more so happy that I'm incorporating a lot of the actual lore of Araby into the army. Besides the crazy colors, I do think it does match the region, and I think it's better than having all of them cladded in dark browns and black robes, especially under the hot sun. I don't know why you'd wear all of that. But anyways, I hope you guys are enjoying the work in progress. I'm really happy with how well the army is coming along and not being burnt out by the painting, which is fantastic. I do have a lot more conversions for it, so stay tuned. And then I'll go between this, my Nippon army, and there's one other army that I am starting to do. So hopefully you guys don't get too burnt out from all of my jumping back and forth between projects.